I'm Elaine Sims. I'm on the campus of St. Catherine's College. This morning we're in the Emily W. Hunley Library conference room, beautiful conference room. And I have with me a very familiar face to all of you, President Bill Huston.
Good morning.
Been at the college now for, 17 years. Whoa. Wow, I was a child when you started. You were too, we're the same age.
I had blonde hair.
It still is. This morning we're going to talk about just what's going on the campus at the college this spring, and I'm going to open the floor to you.
Okay, well, good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here and give you an update on a few things that are going on. I look a little tired because I just got back a few days ago from Kansas City.
Yes,
and
yes.
We had a great showing. The National Invitational Athletic Association, NAIA, had their national conference, and I think they've been there every year since 1922, and we experienced it for the first time 4 years ago. The first year we were eligible to go out for a 4-year competition. And
this is in basketball.
In basketball.
Gotta clarify that.
And had a great trip, and so when we went back this year, we wanted to stay a little longer.
Wow.
And so we played the number 2 seed the first game and defeated them 99-97.
Wow.
Great game, great game.
Wow,
and,
high score.
And then we won our second game and lost our third game. But the thing that impressed me the most is wherever I went, the Kansas City officials would come up and compliment me on our team.
Wonderful.
And our coaches and our fans, and what a pleasure it was to have St. Catherine to represent.
Wow. One
of the schools to represent our conference.
Were they a shoe-in for this because of their season, or did someone tell me that they got in for an unusual reason?
We got an at-large bid, and it was probably one of the last bids of the field of 32 because we come from an extremely competitive conference. 4 schools from our conference got an invitation. 1 earned it, and the other 3 got it because of their season, a successful season, in an extremely competitive conference. So,
and those 4 teams, what Lindsey Wilson?
It was Pikeville, which
sure.
finished number 1 in the country, and
they ended up winning.
They got knocked out in the second round,
wow.
And Cumberland's got knocked out in the second round, and then Georgetown and St. Catherine.
And we got knocked out in the
third round. We were the last of the 4.
Wow.
So Coach Burton and his staff, and the other thing that was so neat is I'm sitting there talking to the president of the NAIA, and I said, now, have you ever had a more distinguished looking group of coaches? And all 4 of them were down there with their dark suits on.
Makes such a difference.
And I said, all 4 of them are St. Catherine graduates.
Wow.
And I don't know if there's a coaching staff in the country where the head coach and all the assistants are from that institution.
Wow.
And they just, the players, it was just a real treat, you know.
How did you get to, you probably didn't ride with the players on the bus?
No, but I stayed next to them in the hotel.
So you got to talk, you got to talk to them a lot during that.
Oh, yeah.
So were they were all, I'm sure, elated.
They were. I mean, you know, they were
excited to be
they were
there.
Disappointed because they didn't win it. I said that's not even a factor. You know, the fact that you had a great season, had some great wins, you know, and you got to come out here and to have this experience.
That's wonderful.
You know,
that's wonderful.
And one school brought 6,000 fans.
Oh my gosh.
And they were from Kansas. They were a little bit closer than we were. And of course, half of our fan base is Coach Burton's family.
Sure.
You know, because he's got a rather large family.
Turn up the heat.
Yeah, I turned up the heat. Uncle Bobby. But whether it was going out to eat, or whether it was in the lobby, or whether it was after the game, you know, and signing some autographs and stuff, the guys were just
great impression.
Great.
It makes people look at your school.
Yes.
You know, it's going to make people look at your school.
Yeah.
Good. Well, congratulations, of course, to the coaches, and to you, and my goodness, to the players.
Yeah,
that's
great. It was a great year, and I just got word yesterday that our men's and women's bowling team is going to the national tournament.
Are they really?
and they've had a great year, and they've defeated teams like Florida State and the University of Florida.
Oh my!
And so they're rolling on.
Wow.
And you know, our swim team has done well. There's a lot of sports, you know, everybody knows about baseball and softball and basketball because they're out.
Well, yeah, and it's so visible.
By.
It's so visible.
But there's a lot of sports, you know, track and field was out of town last weekend at a big tournament, and cross country and swimming and
wow.
Bowling.
Wonderful.
And we'll be starting wrestling.
We have talked about that, and I tell a lot of people about that because I think we're going to pull in some excellent students too. Excellent academic students.
Yes, they are, and you know, my high school had wrestling, St. Joe Prep, and most everyone that wrestled were in the honors track at St. Joe, and
discipline.
Yes, yeah.
Discipline. How many seniors are we going to lose on the basketball team?
I think we lose 6.
Wow.
So, but we've got a core that'll be back, and the other thing that I'm so proud is the coach will come up and he won't say, you know, I won 20 or I won 30 games. He'll come up and say, another year where every eligible senior graduates and gets their diploma.
Good.
And he has yet to have a basketball player that has played for him that has not graduated. We're hitting 100%, and you know, Dean Smith, when he was at North Carolina, he was always proud of. He and Rupp were always right at each other's heels for the most victories, but Dean Smith would say, in all my career, I only had 2 players that didn't graduate. Well, one of them was Michael Jordan, and he came back and did graduate. So I think he only ended up with 1 player that did not graduate.
Wow.
So
well, and that's in the headlines right now on national basketball scene.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not going to mention any names, but it's on the scene right now.
Yeah, and
that's wonderful. I mean, and it's just like any. I don't care how good they are. And when I have interviewed these students, I say, "What's your backup plan?" It's wonderful that you know they're graduated.
Right.
They could if they need, they'll move on to something else.
They will,
and
they'll have their degrees. And they realize realistically that most of them won't make a living playing basketball or baseball or bowling or anything else. And the key is to really focus on your education while you're in school.
That's right.
And consider it a privilege. 1% of all high school athletes play at the college level. 1%. And you know, I would have been tickled to death to be the last guy on the bench. You know, I didn't have a chance to play college athletics.
Well, and when I say we, St. Catharine's, I'm only here to do the interview. I'm not employed.
I thought you were here all the time.
But you know, we do have a lot of student athletes, and I think that's a misconception to a lot of people because they think, you know, so your whole school is based on that. But it's also important, very, very important to point out they graduate.
They do graduate.
Mainly, they're here for an education. But being a student athlete affords them the opportunity to be here.
Right.
And I think that's very, very important for people to set in their mind.
The thing that I love about the NAIA national requirements is the students have to achieve so many credits each semester. They have to requalify each semester to continue playing sports the next semester. And they do that 2 ways. They have to complete successfully a certain number of credits, and then they have to have a certain grade point average.
Well, that's
and so consequently, we did a study a few years ago, and we took all of our student athletes and compared their ACT scores and their GPAs with non-athletes, and the athletes had a higher GPA.
Wow. Well, good.
And you're looking at a school that's got, you know, a number of medical programs and health science programs.
Yes.
That require. So it's a statistic that a lot of people get surprised with. you know.
Okay. Is there anything else? Moving on. Is there anything else we need to talk about? What's going on this spring?
Well, we have an activity that we're going to be involved with on the 21st of April, and Michael Breeding is a local young man
Very, I know him quite well.
That's
yes.
known
very talented
internationally
yes.
through his special documentaries, Shakertown and just Keeneland and different things.
And
Lincoln.
the historian, Lincoln,
Yeah.
the historian that died a few years ago. He finished that up as soon as he.
Right.
The state historian. I'm sorry, I'm blank on his name right now.
But
yeah.
he was commissioned by the Commonwealth to do a special documentary on the governor's mansion.
Right.
And
the
governor's mansion has
right.
a long history, and it's almost like it's the Achilles heel of a lot of administrations, because it needs continual upkeep and
yes.
modernization and redecorating, and some governors make that a priority and some don't, and there's always a shortage of state funds. I know Libby Jones took it a lot of initiatives when Brereton was governor to try to refurbish it. Well, Michael has done this documentary, and it's going to be released publicly sometime after the 21st of April. But Governor Beshear and First Lady Jane are going to have a public-private showing of this documentary, and it's going to be at St. Catharine College.
Oh, cool!
And we're going to host a reception where the public will be invited at Hunley Library, and it'll start right around 5:30 on the 21st, and we'll have hors d'oeuvres and cocktails in this beautiful building here for about an hour. All former governors and first ladies will be invited to come to this, and we're anticipating that there will be 3 or 4 or maybe 5 former governors.
Right. Right.
And then around 6:30, everyone will go over to the Pettis Auditorium in the Hamilton Health and Science Building, and Michael will talk about his documentary, and then they'll have the unveiling of it then. So
I talked to Nell Hayden downtown, and she was going to maybe it was something part of Main Street Renaissance, to the governor's mansion, and I believe at that time maybe she was going to. She talked about that documentary then.
Right.
Michael's work just gets better and better.
Right.
I've been able to work with him during the Lincoln Bicentennial, and he's just he's a go-getter. He's a go-getter.
Oh yeah.
Does it on very limited funds, and I'm sure a lot of his own sometimes.
Oh,
but that's
yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
So
good.
we're
good.
Springfield, Washington County, and the Tri-County area needs to be privileged that we have talent like that, and then that the governor is willing to. I mean, they could have had this unveiling in Frankfurt, but to have it here.
I wonder why they chose here. Just Mike Hayden and
I think
and
with Mike's connection and Lisa has been kind of coordinating the arrangements with the college, and
good. Good. Great.
And we like it. I mean, a few years ago, remember Pierce Lyons
sure
had the big announcement in Hamilton.
Yeah. Good.
For the All-Tech games.
Well, I saw Governor Collins last night at a function, and we were talking about St. Catherine's a lot, and how our old experiences here. I mean, I told her, I said, I feel like a veteran. I mean, we talk about things that nobody out here knows about. Talked about Frank Salee digging the ground for the soccer. Was it for? No, it wasn't for soccer. I don't remember what it is. And we were just talking about how, gosh, everybody was so diligent then.
Yeah.
She said,
well,
and I said, well, you still got the same kind of staff here now. They love what they do, and they do what they love, and it's not for money.
And we rejoice over a journey consists of many steps, and at St. Catherine's, the steps are small, and you take many small steps, but you eventually get there. And
that's exactly what she said. She said, with a college, you've got to keep adding things and you have to keep changing things.
Right.
And she said that to me twice. You know, she said, you just got to keep adding and changing.
I visited a supporter of the college this morning. I had a 6 o'clock appointment because I don't like to get in the way of busy people during the day.
Whoa.
And one of the questions he asked me, he said, I've met your wrestling coaches, and I've met, you know, a number of people through the years, and he said, I'm always so impressed with the employees down at the college. He says, how in the hell do you keep them? You know,
Yeah,
he says, I know you can't pay what other institutions or other organizations, and in some areas you're even competing with hospitals for the same people, you know, and larger colleges and newspapers and everything else. And I said, we do the best we can. And I said, it's been a difficult time. We've had 5 years of recession. And I said, there's just a type of person that can flourish given an opportunity to come into an organization and to build. And I said, I've got a lot of builders, you know, and I try to stay out of their way and feed them the best I can. And there's people that love that and flourish that. There's others that like a little box that they can, you know, be placed into.
Sure.
But, you know, I remember interviewing with Jesse Osborne when he came over, and I said, Jesse, I said, you'll never have a split decision in your department as far as what direction you want to go, because you're the only vote. You know, so you won't have too many disagreements at staff meetings and stuff. But on the positive side, you know, you have pretty much total control of your department. You know, you have the freedom of the press. You can arrange, you know, and there's always something to write about. You know, every person here has a story, and you know.
And the communication is so obvious. I mean, we get that, of course, from the students that we interview, but the communication is so obvious whenever I'm on campus, how close people are. It's just, again, it goes back to that ad where it's a family. And I know people say, well, you all just say that to get people to come on campus, but it is true. And I think you just have to, you know, it's wonderful if people would just come out here and experience it firsthand.
Right.
Because it is. I mean, the communication is just, you know, it's vital to a marriage or to any kind of relationship. But for this college, it's definitely a huge, huge factor.
It is.
And why it makes it so special. I agree.
Well, and most families have disagreements from time to time.
Sure.
I mean, you come from a large
Absolutely.
family.
If it's perfect, something's wrong.
Right. And you know, we have challenges. We have growth challenges. You know, everybody wants to be fed at the same time, and sometimes we can't feed anybody, you know, and then we try to make priority decisions. When this beautiful building opened, that allowed the fine arts department to go over into the old library space. Then
That's
that
a wonderful space.
allowed the education department to go into the old art department, you know, and it was and then folks came over to Lourdes and admissions and enrollment management. You know, it was a domino effect. Well, how do you determine what the best plan is? You know, well, we asked people to submit proposals, and we tried to pick the best proposals. So we try to work together, and sometimes you hit home runs, sometimes you hit singles, and occasionally you have a strike. You just don't want to strike out too often. You know.
Well, it's obvious that you love what you do, and I was just with you in a very small group, and you know, like you said, money is not the factor here, but you love your job, and I think we have experienced that with many of the faculty here, many of the faculty. Okay, that's exciting. Wow. So you know, I hope Pettis Auditorium holds all these people, because there'll be a good turnout for that.
They're going to use it for a little bit of a fundraiser, and I think there'll be a nominal charge of I think $35 that will go towards the fund.
Yes.
To make improvements in the governor's mansion.
Yes. Yes.
But
we're actually going up there next Thursday for something because of a donation. we get to go to the governor's. And it's very impressive.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. I've been there several times. And it's a, it's a beautiful, beautiful building.
Right. So.
It's a beautiful building, yeah.
Well, we feel great to be able to host it.
Well, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful. So Lisa's carrying on her husband's
legacy.
Legacy, exactly, exactly. Anything else? Are we?
Well, we're about a month out from graduation, and
hard to believe.
I know.
Oh.
Guy Adams is going to be our graduation speaker, and he's president of the Christian Appalachian Project.
Oh.
Very service-based organization. About 60 employees that are primarily in the southeastern counties of Kentucky. Guy is a product of private education. He graduated from Berea. He went to Berea, like many folks that we know, from a first-generation college graduate. And then he has worked for several nonprofits, including he was the vice president for advancement down at Lindsey Wilson. That's where I first got to know him. Then he's worked with a couple of national firms and out of Chicago until he came back home to take the presidency of the.
Isn't it wonderful when people do that?
It is.
I mean, they come home and it's just like when Paul Patton stepped up to help Pikeville College.
and it stayed.
Amazing. Yeah.
They have a new president, but he's now the chancellor.
Yeah.
And
that's a challenge.
It is a challenge.
It's a challenge.
And you know, it gets in your blood. I mean, you can go a couple different ways, and nonprofits, there's a lot of self-satisfaction when you can accomplish something, and we're in such a competitive environment in higher education, and when I came here, the competition was down 55 at Campbellsville, or maybe the community colleges, and now it's the world. You can sit in your living room and get a PhD in almost anything.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
And,
That's right.
So
it's pretty expensive, but you can do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty expensive.
And you can get them without too much work sometimes too.
Exactly.
You know, the quality is questionable in some cases. So
Exactly.
so our whole environment has changed, and how we deliver our product has changed. You know, when the president of Center did a little board retreat with us earlier in the year, and he said that whoever would have dreamed that Center College delivered 19% of their courses online. Wow. And you know, Center has no part-time students. You know, you're there for the duration, full time, and most aren't on campus, most. But you just don't think of a very traditional liberal arts college.
No, you don't.
Like Center doing online learning.
No.
But they exchange classes with other institutions. You know, I'm going up to Indiana and talk to a school up there about some course exchanges, you know, that we could beam courses up there, and they could beam down here. So you're going to see a lot more of that in the near future.
Well, our daughter that's in nurse practitioner school, most of her classes are in the classroom, but then like 3 of them are going to be online, where with the same instructor, but it's going to be it gives her, you know, it's both avenues, which is, I think it's kind of interesting. I always thought it would just be every day, but it's not.
You know,
it's not. You can do some of it at home.
You look around this beautiful conference room, and the first month that the Hundley Library was open, Inowak International did plant training out of this office.
Wonderful.
To Mexico, Canada, and a number of plants in the United States. It all originated around this table. They had people in here, but they also had people that they communicated with through interactive television.
That's amazing.
And
That's amazing.
For 4 weeks, they had training here every day.
Wow.
And they did plant manager training, they did personnel training, they did benefits training, you know, health insurance and stuff like that. They did HR training, and made that decision because of the success of this room to make an investment in Springfield to set up a training center to do more of this.
Good.
So
Good.
technology is leveling the playing ground, and it's just making life a lot different than it was even 3 and 4 years ago.
Oh, I know.
And I went through the Toyota plant a couple of months ago, and they said that like 3 out of every 4 procedures now are done with robotics. You know, and they don't miss work.
It's
and,
exciting,
and,
but it's kind of
yeah,
scary.
Yeah, yeah.
A little scary, but it's interesting. Well, it's wonderful that I think that for the public to know how much this building is used, and it's such a peaceful atmosphere here. And people talk about going to the library, and I say, you know, go out to St. Catherine's and just kind of explore it and see what they can offer to you. I mean, our library downtown's great, the people are wonderful, but it's just a whole different atmosphere here.
Well, you can go down to the computer room,
Yeah,
or you can get a private discussion room and reserve that.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize the computer room. How many computers are in there? Gosh, 12?
Within the building, we've got around 50 or 60.
But if you want to come somewhere to study, and you can, you know, plug yours in. I mean, and when I see it all the time when I'm here, it's such a great environment. It's just such a great environment.
Yeah. We're very blessed to have it, and
yes, we are. Yes, we are.
We appreciate Miss Hunley and her gift, and and this will be her legacy.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
for the Tri-County area.
That's wonderful.